Hey folks, this is Ben Gussel. How's it going? I'm in my plaid shirt here, and as you guys know, this has been like 3/4 of a year of COVID-19. So, uh, yeah, it's very different, very very different. So I couldn't help but notice that, well, Al Jazeera, of all people, and usually they have really good content. I don't know. What do I know? They cover things that the mainstream news doesn't cover, I guess. They came out with this, I don't know how long ago. Actually didn't check the date, it's my fault. But some stuff about um, democracy and Constitution and Bill of Rights and everything that makes America America. Oh no, it had nothing to do with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. Nothing to do with the Sons of Liberty, Sam Adams, John Adams. Not even, of course, not Sam Rutledge. Of course, there's none of those Southern guys, of course. Not Henry Lightfoot Lee. Not Dickinson, John Dickinson. All those other guys. Governor Morris. None of those founding fathers, no. Now, they were just sitting around old white men's club in Philadelphia, just chatting with King George about things like, oh, I don't know. Hey, we think about forming our own country here. We want to let you know that. Sucks to be you. No, well, yeah. No, that actually, maybe they were kind of just talking about it. Maybe they didn't actually go through with it. Maybe all those ideas they come up with and everything and all this stuff was actually more from Africans. Maybe it was. Nobody's questioning. Nobody's questioning that slavery was wrong. Nobody's questioning that black folks would rather be free, in probably the majority of cases. Yes, equality and freedom are things that Afro Americans have historically always wanted. And they still do, and they still sometimes feel like they don't quite have it. But there is no changing history, folks. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, John Adams. You know the list. These were our founding fathers. Black folks were not allowed to be part of that group because they were not viewed as being fully human back then. Times have changed. There was a lot of controversy about this very subject, and the Southerners didn't think at all that, you know, they didn't. Oh man, they were just like, no. Northerners are kind of mixed feelings. That's how it was. That's how it was. But you can't change the fact that the people that sent the Declaration of Independence to King George were all white. They were all white. That's just the way it was. And but you have guys like Frederick Douglass. You have guys that many other folks that we don't know about because we just don't know about them. Of course, we know about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, and we know about all these. We know about some of these folks. There's a lot of folks we don't know about. There's a lot of history that you just don't hear about. You do have people that probably fought in the Revolutionary War. I know there were people that fought in the Revolutionary War that were black. Not just the Civil War, Revolutionary War. So there's a lot of those things that go unsaid, and I fully acknowledge that. But you cannot change history. You cannot change who came up with which ideas. Like the Greeks came up with democracy originally. the Anglo-Saxons, the English, came up with English common law, which definitely influenced, huge influence on us. Both the Greeks and the British influence American law and government. That's just a no-brainer. Anybody with any iota of common sense about politics and government would know that not only Greece and not only Britain, but also Israel have three countries, and probably Italy as well, ancient Rome. All these European civilizations have very much influenced the United States. The United States is not an African civilization. We have Afro Americans here. So to some extent, whatever the cultures that whatever West African and Central Southern African cultures survived on the way over, which not much of it did, in in a way, but you still had the spirit of Africans. So that survived on some level, and so then you could say, well, okay, the United States was culturally very much largely European when the United States became the United States. Now we're talking the American Indians. That's a completely different subject. Yeah, they're the original inhabitants of the Americas, but there are people that were here before even them, and which we won't get into that. We don't have to get into that right now, but these are different cultures. The American Indians had a very admirable culture, which I very much know and love, but their numbers were due to obvious reasons, like not just war, but also famine. Actually, it was a disease, right? Brought by the Europeans. This is all in Guns, Germs, and Glory, right? That those movies wiped out a whole bunch of American Indians. So there were things that the Europeans borrowed from the American Indians, many things. But in terms of, again, the type of government we have, it's very much, again, Israel, Greece, Britain, or Saxons, whatever. Yeah, I mean, so I'm actually wondering to myself, have there been any real substantial changes in regard to what is being taught in schools these days regarding history? I think it's great to cover more history, have a broader scope, but you can't. If I personally hear about anybody who's trying to actually change history, and I've heard the sentiments about George Washington not being as admirable, and let me put it this way: in real life, if somebody were to ever talk about that, I would let them have it. It would be very hard for me to hold back and be civil with that person. It's basically going into anti-Mormonism. In some respects, it would infuriate me even more because this was the first president of our country. This was the founder of our country. He gave his life. He almost starved to death in Valley Forge for this country. And so again, if anybody badmouths George Washington, at least in real life, or at least in any comments, you better believe I'm going to be bringing it. And not only you don't have to worry about me, but you also need to talk to you in the afterlife. You need to be all these folks need to be facing those guys, because yes, we will all face everybody that came before us. Anybody that makes George Washington look bad, Thomas Jefferson, all those things they tried to do for our country, one day they're going to actually have a chat with them. Not only them, but also God. And so, folks, look, when you're hearing all this crazy stuff, all I say is get your facts straight. Get your facts straight. Know who these people really were. And again, as I mentioned before, stop putting these modern virtues on these people that lived in the past, where their culture was different. Things were different. They were very much different. Nobody was coming around saying, that's racist. No, that wasn't going on at all. It was quite the opposite. If you were not racist, you were a very, very, very rare person. Very rare indeed. And any of us who have an ounce of common sense, you don't even have to. You don't even have to take a history class. You don't even have to be in junior high to understand this stuff. I literally do not know what's happening right now with our country, with the way people are talking. I have no idea why this is happening. It boggles the mind. You cannot change history. You cannot change which people did what. It doesn't work that way. People do borrow ideas from different people, and sometimes it gets a little bit like who said what first, right? The whole idea thing. But Stonehenge was built by the Celts, okay? The Vikings discovered Iceland, and you can't change that stuff. And it's not just me that's talking about this stuff. There are hundreds of thousands, not millions of people that are going to be getting way into this in coming years. I hear it all the time. No one wants to be misunderstood. No one wants to be misunderstood, first off. And no one wants their country, their ancestry, being ridiculed, or the history of their nation being changed for some idiotic reason that the left seems to be going toward these days. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how much this is happening. If you guys, and I don't get very many comments, to my videos, but if you want to leave some comments, I'm going to, you darn well better believe I'm going to be reading them. You darn well better believe when it comes to the Founding Fathers, I'm sticking with the Founding Fathers. And I am not ever calling any of them racist. With maybe a few exceptions like Rutledge. The Southerners were probably racist. The other guys, you guys need to tell that to their faces next life. I wasn't one of the Founding Fathers, so don't put it on me. I'm just letting you guys know, again, like any of you guys with common sense would know, times were different. Times were different. I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again for years and years to come. Times were different. And I don't know how anybody with an IQ over 90 cannot understand this one concept. Times were different back then. I truly wish more people had more common sense in this regard. I truly do. But, it's astonishing how many people don't have much common sense these days. Or much perspective about how human society and people. It's astonishing. Leave me thoughts and comments below. Catch you guys later. Take care.